Hi guys, how's everyone doing? Welcome to another episode of my naked stories. I am in a much nicer environment because I'm not at home right now. I'm out of town for a couple of days, so this is actually a hotel. I brought my camera so that I can record a couple videos before I head back. Thank God I'm actually doing it. Okay, so today might be short, might be long, I don't know. I just want to talk about like a question or uncertainty that I have, and yeah, because this is called my naked stories. It's not necessarily. I feel like every episode almost always has a conclusive end where it feels like I know exactly what I'm doing, but that's not the entire point of this. There are some things I have learned the answer to, other things I'm still asking questions, right? And yeah, this is going to be generic as possible, but then I'll try and make it specific as well. I don't know. We'll see about that. So, I just been thinking about this for a while now. Um, so, people who are believers and people who are not believers, there's a common misconception that I've come across a lot where someone who's not a believer in Jesus or doesn't go to churches often or who kind of grew up in church and didn't stop going after a while, they look at people who go to church as you have your life all figured out, everything's working fine for you. Why do you I can't go to church, you're going to church, your life is good, mine is crappy, and that type of um, insinuation, which couldn't be further from the truth. And it got me thinking because I am a person who loves God. I trust God as much as my strength allows me to, and the rest, where my strength stops, I depend on God's help for me to trust Him there. God has seen me through so many good and bad times. I believe that He holds my future. I believe that He's my. I believe that Jesus is my Savior, and I believe that God has a sovereign plan for my life. And I really, really trust that, and my life hinges upon that. Pretty much every decision I take is taken bearing that at the back of my mind, that I want God's sovereign will to be done in my life, and that I want to live my life God's way. That being said, my life is not free from complications and uncertainty and disbelief and pain. I wish it could be, but it's not. So I didn't grow up in a Christian family, right? And I left home when I was very young. I think I was 17. Or before that, I had left home, but I left the country to study abroad when I was about 17 or close to 18. And I haven't been home in a while. I haven't spent time with my family in a while. But I've noticed that every time I come back to spend time with my family, it brings back pictures of my childhood, and those pictures remind me of a time when I really, okay, so when I was younger, I really, really wanted to get away from home. um but that's not why I did because the opportunity presented itself, but then it kind of gave me what I wanted in a way. But I didn't think of it that way until I had to go home and hang out with my family again. And then I remembered reasons why I wanted to leave home and create my little bubble of how I thought life was supposed to be for me. And that, not that the life that I have for myself outside my immediate family that I grew up in is like ideal or anything, but a lot of things are within my control and on my terms, so to speak. Because when you have a family, it's not about you, it's about everyone. And you just, yeah, if you have siblings and a family, you just know how that dynamic plays out versus when you're by yourself, right? It's a different dynamic. And I kind of enjoyed having everything under my control, having waking up whenever I wanted, eating whatever I wanted, arranging my house however I wanted, just having my own thing. And um, I'm visiting family right now. That's where this is coming from. And I just started thinking and talking to God about it, because I love my family members, but we're not the same people, right? And I have this habit of trying to. So if I think that this is the way to think to help you, I want everybody to think that exact same way, right? And I struggle with that a lot. Where so I have a younger brother, and I love him very much, and I want the best for him. So sometimes when he's doing something that I think you shouldn't do something that way, you shouldn't think that way, you shouldn't act that way, it agitates me literally, and I want him to do what I think is right, because I am wiser than him to some extent. I have more experience than him. He does know some stuff. He is experienced in his own right, but sometimes I just believe that my way is better. And I was thinking about that yesterday, pondering it with God, and I'm just realizing that no matter how much I want a life for someone, it's not in my power to give that life to that person. I'm not God. There's a proverb, I think it's Nigerian, or I don't know where it comes from, but I heard it a lot growing up, that you can force a horse to the stream, but you can't force that horse to drink water. So pretty much ultimately decisions are not yours to make for another person. They're the person's choice to make. And that scares me a lot, because sometimes I deceive myself into thinking that I know what's best for everyone around me. If something is working for me, if I was able to live my life this way, then someone has to live it exactly the way I lived it to be able to achieve the success I have achieved with that particular thing. And that's not true. I've learned, even with the people I care about so much, that our lives are very different, our journeys are very different, our paths are very different, and there's nothing I can do about that, honestly. I could ruin my brother's life, for example, by trying to tell him exactly what to do. I can give him counsel, but ultimately the choice is his to make. And even though some things he would decide are not entirely right, clearly I can see, or his different way of doing something. And even though that's there's nothing I can do about that. He has to go on this journey himself, and it's really hard for me to let go of control. Because I don't want to see people I care about get hurt, and it usually makes me very controlling. So that's a naked story I felt like I wanted to share, because I feel like some other people might be going through that. It scares the crap out of me, because I'm trying to find the balance between, I see that what you're doing is not healthy, but I can tell you that I think what you're doing is not healthy, but I cannot make you not do what you're doing. Does that make sense? I don't know if it does. And yeah, there's no dissent to this story. It's just like the way I'm feeling, and I just wanted to share that because it's a real problem. Um, it, it's not, it's as big a problem as whatever you would term imperfect people problems. I don't know what that works like. So yeah, I wanted to say this because I hear a lot of times when people expect me to have everything together, and I'm like, no. And if you think that this is not problem enough, I really hope you don't have this problem. And if you have this problem, what I'm doing is just trusting God with it, and trusting God through the process, and praying, believing God for a change for the better, and being as open with God as I can be about like my frustrations and everything, like just letting him know how I feel. Yeah, so this is a long, it's long, I can see that it's longer, but I just wanted to share that. Hope it helps someone, hope it makes someone know that you're not alone, that other people have these burdens that you think you carry by yourself. And if I'm the only one who carries my burden by myself, that's okay. I believe that God understands and He will help me out of my burden. So, um, yeah, it's not easy caring for other people. I think that's one of the greatest callings in life. To not be selfish. It's not very easy to not be selfish. I can see why some people want to be selfish. It's way easier to just think about yourself and not care about other people. But caring about other people is such a huge burden, and it needs to be treated so delicately. And I'm trusting God for wisdom to care for people around me properly. That's it for this episode. I hope you guys have a great day, and I hope to see you on another episode of my Naked Stories.